growing up in poverty, and Mom was on welfare for over 10 years, but she never let any of that affect her in a negative way.
So you worry about a problem, so here you are worrying and all this stuff, all of a sudden the problem's solved. All that anguish for nothing. See, the physical application of karate really is the smallest part of it.
And there's this one Indian kid who just didn't like me, and every day he'd chase me home from school.
I must have a direction for me to get up in the morning. I got to know what it is that I want to do.
So all four of us fight. My three students win, and I lose.
Anything you work toward, there are always obstacles in the way.
He's an American martial artist, actor, and film producer. After serving in the United States Air Force, he began his rise to fame as a martial artist. He appeared in a number of action films and had the starring role in the TV series Walker, Texas Ranger. He's Chuck Norris, and here's my take on his top 10 rules for success.
Growing up in poverty, and Mom was on welfare for over 10 years, but she never let any of that affect her in a negative way. She always kept a very positive image about life, saying that we may be poor, but we're rich in love, and I've always remembered that. And she's always said that, and always kept a positive attitude about life, and that kind of carried off in me too. And I think that was some of the success of my life, has always kept a positive attitude about whatever it was I was pursuing.
Chuck Norris's tears cure cancer. Too bad he never cries, ever.
Oh,
now, is that true? Mm-hmm. You don't worry about things?
No, because it doesn't do any good. The thing is, let's say you worry about a problem, so here you are worrying and all this stuff, all of a sudden the problem's solved. All that anguish for nothing. You know, the thing is, worry doesn't solve the problem, and it actually hinders the problem. What you've got to do is try to find ways of solving that solution. Or that problem, finding a solution for the problem, and if you do, then you don't have time to worry about it.
You're able to live by that.
Well, believe me, from the book, as you know, I've gone through a lot of ups and downs. The people see strictly my success, but they don't know where I came from. A kid who grew up in the back hills of Oklahoma, who was totally non-athletic, and I won the World Karate Championship. And the kid who was extremely shy in school, who had never even done a high school play or a book report, and now I'm doing this. The thing is, you find formulas, you find things that will help you work toward what you want.
Chuck Norris is currently suing NBC, claiming Law and Order are trademark names for his left and right legs.
See, the physical application of karate really is the smallest part of it. Most people think of karate strictly as a physical application, but what it does for you mentally, psychologically, and emotionally is much more important than what the physical attributes can be. For instance, we teach success orientation, positive-minded type goals, because many students we get into our school come in there and they're in a very negative train of thought. I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't accomplish things. And what we try to do as teachers is to push out all the negative thoughts and replant positive ideas of what you can do, what you can accomplish in life. And we set formulas for them, which is very good, which works in all areas of life, not strictly karate, but college, training, or whatever. And the formula that I emphasize is that whatever goal you set for yourself, which we all do as we get into the adult world, we all set goals for ourselves. The first thing you must have is a mental image in your mind of what it is that you want to accomplish. Like you're going to college now, you know what in your mind of what it is that you want to achieve. Secondly, you must be determined and persistent enough to stick with it long enough. Now this is where a lot of people fail, because whether you're going through college to get your master's or whatever, you're going to hit obstacles en route. You know, it gets tough at times. And a lot of times people will quit because of these obstacles in the way. And we always emphasize the fact that you must be determined to overcome each obstacle en route. And then if you will study or train, whatever it may be, accordingly, there's not a thing in the world that you cannot achieve.
Yes. This is one of my favorites here. When the boogeyman goes to sleep every night, he checks his closet for Chuck Norris.
There's a scene in there where you talked about bullies and running from danger and things like that when you were trying to help this kid.
Yeah, what happens is this boy is being harassed by the neighborhood bully, and his father is encouraging his son to beat up this little boy. And I wrote this scene. I wrote this particular scene in the script, and I was trying to think, what can I write to encourage this boy to handle this situation, you know, with this bully in the neighborhood. And I'm spending days trying to figure out what can I say to a boy. And finally, I came up with the answer, and it was a situation that I, as a child, had encountered about his age. I went to a school in Arizona that was mostly Indians from the reservation. And there's this one Indian kid who just didn't like me, and every day he'd chase me home from school. And I'd have to run by this gas station, and this mechanic would watch me being chased by this Indian kid every day. And finally, he just couldn't handle it anymore, and he stopped me and made me face this boy. And I told him, I said, I told him I was scared, and he says, well, and what he said to me, which is still true, which I remember, is that he says, that running from your fear is more painful than facing it. And that's something I've always remembered. And this is what I relate to this boy. And of course, eventually, he has to face this fear in the film.
In fine print on the last page of the Guinness Book of World Records, it notes that all world records are held by Chuck Norris. And those listed in the book are simply the closest anyone else has ever gotten.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Again, you learn philosophies as you go from experiences in life. You start learning philosophies and things that will help you work. Like for me, I'm very goal-oriented. I must have a direction for me to get up in the morning. I got to know what it is that I want to do. And it's like when I was a karate fighter. All I wanted to do was win a local karate tournament in LA. But once I won it, I thought, well, how about the state title? So the state title became the next goal. And then when I won that, then it was the national, international, then the world. If I had said I wanted to be the world champion when I first started fighting, it was too far beyond my conception. But I had realistic goals that I felt in my heart I could achieve. The same thing in the movie business. I had no idea I'd be where I am today when I first started. I just wanted to do a movie, anything, just to try to get some experience.
When Chuck Norris sends in his taxes, he sends blank forms and includes only a picture of himself, crouched and ready to attack. Chuck Norris has never had to pay taxes, ever.
Is that true?
That's not true. That is not true.
How do I get that?
My first tournament was in Salt Lake City, Utah. I take 3 of my students and myself. We drive 16 hours to get to Salt Lake City to compete in this tournament. So all 4 of us fight. My 3 students win, and I lose. So I drive back while they held the trophies, But, interesting how philosophies are developed. Because on the way back, I'm thinking, well, how come I didn't win? What was it I did that made me lose? And so I started going through the fight in my mind. And I said, okay, I understand what I did wrong. And I said, okay, I may make a mistake again, but I'm not going to make the same mistake or the same loss again. And so philosophies are developed through this here. And as I tell my students, I said, the only time you ever lose at anything is when you don't learn from that experience. Because that's what life is. Life is full of experiences. And if you learn from them, you're going to grow.
Chuck Norris doesn't churn butter. He roundhouse kicks the cows, and the butter comes straight out.
No, is that real?
Yeah, because I have a ranch. That's how I get my butter.
Anything you work toward, there are always obstacles in the way. And that's when you either quit or you continue on. And that's when I say, just continue on, overcome that obstacle, and route to your goal, because you never know which is the last obstacle that's going to try to stop you. And if you stop, that could have been the last obstacle en route to your success.
Chuck Norris once shot down a German fighter plane with his finger by yelling, bang.
Chuck and his team of Texas Rangers beat the bad guys from 1993 till 2000.
In fact, CBS wanted to go another 2 years on the series, and I probably would have considered that, except that my wife was pregnant with our twins at that particular time, toward the end of the 8th season, and I knew that I couldn't do a series and take care of my wife during her pregnancy, so I knew it was time to call an end to it.
Rather than being birthed like a normal child, Chuck Norris instead decided to push his way out, punch his way out, punch his way out.
It's like when I was a fighter. I'd be walking down the aisle to the ring, and I'd be shaking hands and saying hello to everybody. But once I walked into the ring, my whole demeanor changed, because here is the man across the ring who's going to knock my block off. And so I had to change my attitude. I had to become much more aggressive and almost animalistic. And when I fought him, then after the fight was over, then I'd go back to more of a mild individual. And that's basically the philosophy in my movies. The guy who isn't looking for trouble tries to avoid it, but when he's put into a position that he's got to face it, like we would have to do in real life, then he becomes that person to deal with that situation.
There are no steroids in baseball, only players Chuck Norris has breathed on. I mean, I don't know. Wow. That's not fair. I don't know. Believe me. Some of these ought to be screenplay writers here.
The martial arts changed my whole life. I was a very shy kid growing up, and I was terrified to get up in front of anyone and talk. All through high school, I never once got in front of a class to give a book report or anything. When the teacher would call me up and say, my real name is Carlos, by the way, but anyway, they'd get up and say, would you come up and give a book report? I'd be sitting at my desk, and I'd go, and my face would turn beet red from embarrassment, but I thought if I got up there, I'd be more embarrassed. So I went through that very insecure time in my life. Then when I went to Korea at the age of 19, and attained my black belt, I came back to the States. Now I'm 22 years old, and I'm stationed at March Air Force Base in Riverside, California. And so I was doing my martial arts. Now this is 1961, 62, and no one really knew anything about the martial arts at that time. And so I'm doing my kicks and punches and all that, and all the GIs on the base would watch me and they say, will you teach me that? Teach us that stuff. I thought, well, maybe I'll start a club on the base. So I decided to give a demonstration at the gym on the base, and I'll never forget this. This was 40-some years ago, and that night I sent out notices to everybody that I'm going to give a demonstration, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to give a talk. And I'm 22 years old and never done this in my life. So I wrote out about a half-page speech. And I memorized this thing for 2 weeks. I could say it forwards, backwards, sideways, whatever. The night of the demonstration, I walk into the gym, and the microphone's laying on the floor. And I walk up, I pick up the microphone, and I say, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chuck Norris, and I'd like to welcome you here tonight. That's the last thing I remember. The next thing I remember, I'm walking out into the middle of the gym to do my demonstration. And as I'm walking out there, I'm thinking, did I finish my speech or did I just lay the microphone down? Well, to this day, I still don't really know. But what was important for me at that time, it cracked the egg of insecurity that I'd carried around for 22 years. And then I kept forcing myself until that egg cracked open. And of course, the results of all that is becoming an actor, starting a foundation with Kickstart Kids, which is the love of my life now. I'm teaching the martial arts in the inner city schools, in the middle schools, again using the martial arts as a tool to help these kids develop the security in themselves that I lacked as a youngster, and helping them believe in themselves that they can accomplish anything they want in their life if they're willing to pay the price for it. And that's hard work and dedication. That's the secret to being successful in your life.
And number 10 is when Chuck Norris does push-ups, he doesn't push himself up, he pushes the earth down.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I made this video because Zoe Gonzalez asked me to. So if there's a famous entrepreneur that you want me to profile next, leave it in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. I'd also love to know which of Chuck Norris's top 10 rules meant the most to you and why. Leave it in the comments and I will join in the discussion. Thank you so much for watching. Continue to believe and I'll see you soon.
You took the acting classes and stuff?
Yeah, I took acting classes. Even in my acting classes, I couldn't get a part.
Oh, my Lord.
That's the truth. That's
really?
The truth, yeah.
Well, how'd you break through?
I don't know. It's just determination, know, and not giving up and persistence.
And I achieved the goals I wanted in the karate world. I did, in the world title in my schools. And I was trying to decide what new energies I want to direct, where I wanted to direct my energies at. And Steve McQueen, who was one of my students at the time, suggested the acting field. And I just finished a movie with Bruce Lee called Return of the Dragon, so I decided I would pursue that.
Have you ever made a mistake? Of course you have. We all have. Many times it's hard to face up to that mistake because it means you may be laughed at or punished. But when you do face up to your mistake and know you'll never do it again, then you become a much stronger person.
Here's my favorite one.
Yes.
They wanted to put Chuck Norris's face on Mount Rushmore, but the granite wasn't hard enough for his beard.
Yes! Guys, let's hear it for Chuck Norris.